Hi, lovely to see all of you, and every year, every time we do this, there seem to be more faces out there, so great to have such interest in this particular section, which is about encouraging innovation to increase the sustainability of the packaging that's available to us. So we invited entrants and went through a shortlisting process. So you will see the final 5 this afternoon who've already been through some pre-assessments to get here. They will give a pitch to us on why their design should be the one that wins. And then both the judges and yourselves will have the opportunity to ask some questions. We will then have some deliberations, and we'll be coming back at 4:30 to give you the final results. So hang on for that. So only Martin's holding a... So would the panel like to introduce themselves?
Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. I'm Laura Fernandez. I'm a senior packaging technologist in Marks & Spencer. How much longer?
It's, yeah.
Fine.
Yeah. Hello everybody, my name is Paul Jenkins, Managing Director of the Pack Hub. We have a stand at M48 if you want to come over and see us at some point.
And some have seen me. I'm Martin Kirsch, Executive Director of the Food Service Packaging Association.
And I should say I'm Jane Beavis. I'm Executive Chair of the On-Pack Recycling Label, and we have a stand just across there at K35. Do come and see us. So this is something that Marks & Spencer's have been promoting and sponsoring for a number of years now. And the prize includes being able to be considered as a potential supplier for M&S, and OPRL are also offering a year's free membership to the winner, and should we have a highly commended category, also to that. So we're going to have some fairly precise timings that people need to stick to so that we can get through these 5 entrants. So I'd like to invite up our first team to pitch, which is GAPRI, please. And I'll say at the start, we have quite a diverse range of entries, so it is going to be quite tough making comparisons given such different sorts of packaging that we'll be seeing. So to start, we will be hearing about the GAPRI net.
Hi, my name's Jenny from GAPRI Limited. We are a New Zealand based company that we are currently coming to the UK and have looking for distributors in this area, as well as we have US and other distributors around the world. Our product we designed and developed over the last 4 years and released it 12 months ago. It's called a PC net. As you can see by the slide, it is to do with once you've finished all your packaging and transportation. Did you know that in UK alone there's over 140,000 tonne of plastic stretch wrap used? That's a lot of plastic going into the single-use plastic going into the environment. So we developed this and released and patented the product. I have a sample here. They are designed to be adjustable, flexible on the pallets. We have them in different colour coded, so you have the sizes and heights. We have 3 different heights to adjust to the varying of the pallets that are required, but we also can use to customer requirements and make to customer requirements. We developed this in regards to, we work a lot with the warehouse sector in regards to safety as well. These are designed for warehouse safety as well as efficiency. If you, obviously you're all familiar with the plastic shrink wrap, you get it down from a warehouse, you slit the wrap, you take a layer off. Quite often, if you're looking around a warehouse and you look up high, that stretch wrap has not been re-wrapped, it's been slit, and there's a little bit of a controversy of how safe it is. Is it still contained? That's the question. So this was designed in relation to customers' requests and industry requests. You simply slip it on either a full pallet or an empty pallet. If it's an empty pallet, elasticated all around the edges, you can actually place it and pull it up as your packers are picking. Strap it up the top with your cam buckle tie downs, tie it, put it up. When you're wanting to take a product out for a pick, pack or distribution, pull it down, undo your cam buckles at the top, pull it, sorry it's a bit hard with a handheld mic, elasticated, pull the side down. You can either take one box out, take a layer out, pull it back tight with the cam buckles, put it back up. It remains keeping your stock secure at all times. It also, for transportation, it will do your forceful, it will keep you combusted. It's tested to 600 kgs at any one point, so theoretically it would actually take a 6-ton pallet to fall, which you're never going to get, before this net itself would break. So it is very secure and strong. It's obviously reusable, recyclable in regards to, there's many other facets. So if you didn't get 2-3 years minimum out of one, you would be very, very surprised. The same netting is used in the construction industries out there 5-6 years. Once these are used and reused, you can use them in different industries as well. So from cargo holding to trailer nets. So it can be recycled in that way, not just actually combusted recycles. We've priced them competitively as a commodity because we want them to be out there as a commodity to replace the single-use plastic, to be able to get all of you people using them as quickly as you can. On an average, you can start saving money in a DC, a warehouse, between 30 to 40 days. So very quickly you'll see that cost effectiveness coming into and also time. You don't have that time of the single shrink wrap or forklifting to the automatic machines and back. You've got the product there, unwrap, tie it again, put it back up. So I'm just going to hand to the judges. Have you got any questions?
Right, well, so that allows you 30 seconds more questions than you would have had. So we now have 5 minutes for questions from starting with the judges, and then I'll come to the audience.
Thank you very much. I think it's an absolutely interesting concept and something that we've been, reusability, that this morning was one of the main topics of this stage. Can you explain, so if M&S was going to use your nets, how do you envisage these to get back to you?
Yes, sorry, good point. So each of the labels actually come and they have QR codes on them. So each PC net actually has a QR code. So just like your pallet systems, you can scan the QR code, trace it, dispatch it to ABC warehouse, locate it back. If you are working with your hired pallets, they can actually stay on the pallet. That's the great of it, is when people are unpacking, they don't actually have to take it off and dispose once again of anything. They can unpack it, pull it down as they unpack, and it can come back on the empty pallet with the pallet alone. So it's the same concept as your pallet recognition with your QR codes.
Is there anything else like this on the market? Is this a completely unique proposition?
This is a completely new composition. I believe we have done a research, and there is a US company that has a wraparound product that is reusable, and they're the only two that we have researched and found.
I'm aware that there is a great art to stacking pallets. I once had the privilege of attending a D.S. Smith presentation on the subject, and it is a bit of a science. And then there's an art to making sure you pack these things onto a truck and that every centimetre of the truck is used. That looks quite thick, but I have no idea how it compares. Is there any evidence to suggest that this doesn't make any difference to how many pallets you'd be able to get on a truck?
Correct. We've been using them in New Zealand and Australia now for 18 months, and we have very strict laws in regards to no overhang on pallets at all. And these definitely do not take up any room. There is no extra room. If you can see by the photo, they are actually hooked around your pallet underneath. You can hook them either way depending on which way your forklift, and your forklift doesn't get in the way even if you were forklifting this way or that way. They actually, because they are all elasticated, they will actually hold onto your stock and they won't overhang the pallets. So to answer your question, no, you don't use any additional room.
Can I just ask about your choice of material to make the net out of, and where your evaluation that would be recyclable has come from?
So we chose polypropylene because polypropylene is a polypropylene yarn is the same materials as polypropylene plastic. It can be recycled. It's very much so. I've come from a textile background, so just from the extrusion of a polyester yarn versus the blowing and the extrusion of a plastic. But the materials are the same. Also, more so the polypropylene because it's the most robust textile out there. So it's alkaline resistance, it's dust resistant, it's abrasive resistance. So for the wear and the durability of the product is why we chose that.
Thank you. Coming to you in the audience, do we have any questions? Might need. No?
There's one.
Yeah.
Should I
Do you mind being my glamorous assistant, Martin?
Well, I don't know about the glamorous bit. You've got one.
Hello.
And then we'll come to this
Is
lady
it possible to repair the nets if they get damaged in small areas?
Yes, it is. You can patch a net with a C-ring. So we have documentations of sending it out if it ever came to that. Yes, and you literally put a patch on and C-ring it on each corner. So
Okay.
yes, it is.
Thank you.
I was just wanted to know how much percentage of recycled polyprop do you actually use in the nets, or is it 100% new virgin polypropylene?
So the only thing that is not polypropylene is your stainless steel cam buckles and your stainless steel carabiners, which obviously can just be cut off and those also melted down and recycled.
Okay.
Otherwise, everything else is polypropylene, 100% recyclable.
Okay.
The question was
Yes, I think the questioner was trying to get to whether you'd used recycled content in the net, or is it all virgin material?
No, sorry. Yeah, it's all virgin material. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, we're up against time now, but I guess that would be the challenge, was the potential to do
can
that.
they use recycled polyprop?
There's no reason why they couldn't, no. Yeah, you can definitely use recycled polypropylene. It's the plastic, once again, mounted down and then extruded into the yarn, so there's no reason why you could not use that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody.
Right, so next up is Hatsapoulis, if you would like to come and set up. And I'll apologise in advance if I incorrectly pronounce that.
That was almost perfect.
Almost perfect. Hey, that's about as good as it gets. So, so when you're ready, Mike.
Yeah, sure. Yes, thank you.
There's one over there.
Hello there. My name is Elef. I represent Hatsapoulis Packaging. We are a European supplier based in Greece. We've been active in the UK and Irish markets for the last 15 years almost, and we've got a sales office in Nottingham. Our proposition is quite simple, really, but its significance within this whole sustainability debate could not really be overstated. And I said simple proposition. This material actually belongs to a family of structures that we've developed, and it's actually the fruit of 2 years of intensive R&D work. The rationale, the philosophy between the development of these kinds of films was to replicate all the functions of conventional materials used for packaging with the recyclable equivalent. So I'm going to get into some more detail here. So this is actually a 3-ply film. It exhibits excellent printability, optimal performance upon packing lines in all sorts of different applications, vertical lines, horizontal lines. It can be used as a lead-in film. Here you can see a very, very highly demanded application to pack coffee with a valve applied also. And in terms of sealing integrity and strength, it's also excellent and comparable to conventional films. The main challenge was to actually achieve heat-resistant differential between the top and bottom layer, so the top layer, the outer layer, and the sealing layer. So this is the reason, and this is the main point of differentiation, because I'm pretty sure I'm going to get asked this question, with an actual mono material and non-laminated material. Right? By creating this 3-ply structure, we ended up with an actually highly versatile formulation. So right now you can play around with aesthetics, so you can print on the top layer and give it the appearance of paper, matte, gloss, whatever you can imagine. Also, we can adjust the bulk, the mid layer, and there you can add or decrease actually puncture resistance, rigidity, and also barrier properties, so barriers to moisture and oxygen. Now, with the sealing layer, there are a multitude, I guess, of parameters you can affect. Again, barriers, sealing initiation times, and so on and so forth. So this is what I'm here to present to you. And I think this film is going to make such a difference because it's, packaging films are ubiquitous, really. They're everywhere. And in my personal opinion, their adoption is going to create a snowball effect. So the more they're adopted by main retailers, main brands, the more the pressure on governments and local bodies, local authorities to basically institute the relevant infrastructure to recycle them. So to recap, an all PE film, because I don't think I mentioned that. So it's an all PE film, polyethanol film, that works. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So hang on, and we will ask you some questions. Whoops. There. Okay, so for the judges to kick off, Paul, would you like to make a start?
You mentioned coffee. What other applications, packaging applications, do they have?
Right now, we've got clients that adopted us in the dry nut sector, cereal bars, salty snacks, and in general confectionery. Yeah, and this moment in time, it's all food within the food sector, but I'm hoping that we can just, extend to non-food as well, expand actually, yeah.
Okay. Laura?
Martin is still
Oh.
thinking.
I'm still thinking.
This is effectively replacing a PET aluminium PE structure. Could
Yeah, so this specific one, yes. Well, we've moved from that material. So the standard material for coffee right now would be polyester, metallized polyester PE. So
Okay.
yes.
Can you get a weight reduction as well? And you mentioned as well the sealability has got less temperature, so you get energy saving there.
Absolutely.
So what are the all-rounded benefits of this structure versus the typical 3 layers?
Yeah. So if you compare it to traditional polyester aluminum PE structure, the reduction in weight is just dramatic. So this is low density material. So we're talking, depending on thickness, 20-30% reduction in weight. And in terms of energy savings, again, so you would need, normally you would seal for coffee at 145, 140 degrees. This will start sealing at 107. So quite a big difference, yes.
All right, couple of questions. One, your company, are you actually selling packaging, a material, or the rights to use a material which you've developed? That's one. And then secondly, you mentioned about end of life and recycling. Have you got actual evidence to that and it's accepted in the paper stream normally?
Yes. We couldn't be a more traditional converters, printers. So we do actually manufacture the materials. So again, the whole, the overall design principles we employed were in full conformity with OPRL and CFLEX guidelines. So that's a good point, actually. So this material has been approved by OPRL, and we actually receive a specialized label for it. So clients can use the recycled large supermarkets label.
Which I guess is the cue for me to come in. Just one point of clarification. We don't approve materials, but
Okay.
we do check that the appropriate label is going on. So yes, we have the challenge of persuading customers to take things back to supermarkets to recycle with other PE films there. So quite a different look to other PE films. Do you think there's a challenge there in getting customers' minds to associate it with other recyclable films?
What do other recyclable films look like? I don't know.
Well, a standard PE bag looks somewhat different to the appearance you've
so
given
this
to that.
looks different because it's well. Yeah. All right. That is, I think. I don't think we've applied a matte varnish on it. We might have. Where is the? I don't know which one, because it's. It's based on high gloss PE.
I think you've lost your coffee.
Yeah, we've lost it. Oh no, it is matte. Yeah, that one is matte. So it's a simple application of a varnish to modify aesthetics, to modify its looks.
But the aesthetics would vary according to client, presumably.
Absolutely, yes. And there's no concern about varnishes or adhesives, because these would either disperse on the bulk of the recyclate or get evaporated during extrusion of the recyclate. So, yeah. So unlimited options in terms of adjustability of aesthetics.
Yeah.
Basically.
Okay. So, do you have questions in the audience?
Hello.
Hi.
Could you tell us a bit about the possibilities for including recycled material in the pack. Presumably, it could go in the middle layer, and would that make the packaging suitable for food grade if it were to? And if so, what's the maximum percentage of recycled material do you think that could be included in the overall pack? Thanks.
Thank you. That is a very good question. We've been experimental with pre-consumer waste films. Pre-consumer waste including films. Pardon? Yeah, both actually.
Post.
Both.
I'm more interested in post-consumer.
Yeah, both. Right now, the percentage of recycled material that we've used is 30%, but there's scope to go up to 80, 90, and why not 100% at some point. The only issue we had so far is that, and that's a very good point actually, so we've experimented with two-ply materials and endeavored to incorporate these sorts of films into the sealing layer. But obviously that would render the overall formulation non-food contact compliant basically. So that is a very good point, and yeah, to take on board, we can trial the middle layer where there's no contact with food.
Can you just give us an idea of the relative thicknesses of the three layers? Is the center layer the thickest, or not necessarily? For this specific one that has been circulating around, it's the sealing layer. So basically 30 microns for the top layer, 30 microns for the middle layer, and 60 for the sealing layer. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, we have time for just one more question. Anybody? Yeah, something down here. Thank you. Just here, thanks.
Hi.
Hello.
Have you tested moisture barrier of this material?
Yes, so as I said, this belongs to a family of materials. So obviously we excluded, because our, I think, very first variant included metallization. But again, relying on OPRL guidelines CFLEX, we decided to basically do away with metallization. Now, this is the fourth generation of films. The barrier variants include EVO8. So again, you can adjust the thickness and density of EVO8, but in all cases, you've got very, very strong barriers for oxygen.
And for the moisture?
And not so much for oxygen.
Not so much.
But still, it's quite good barriers for moisture as well.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks. And next up we have Ecopack.
Thank you.
Use that. Okay. When you're ready.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm delighted to be able to present Ecopack's
Could maybe just hold the mic a little bit higher.
Hydropole technology. We're a Birmingham-based manufacturing operation that manufactures polyvinyl alcohol pellets. The unusual part about that is polyvinyl alcohol is a very functional material, but it's extremely difficult to process. So we have a global patent on the ability to produce these pellet materials. So where this comes in is to be able to put this through any thermo-processing system. So that could be film, it could be extrusion coating, injection molding, etc., and actually be able to get the benefits of the function of the material, which I'll come to shortly. So as an example of that, you'll see this on the screen, and this example here. This is to show the film. So this is film lamination to paper to enable obviously a window. What's the advantage of this? Well, the advantage is that you've got the functionality of the material, which is highly strong, so it's 2.5 to 3 times the strength gauge for gauge against polyethylene. It is very good puncture resistance, very good clarity. It's also printable if you need to print it. And then you come to the other side of that, which is barrier. It's got a very exceptional oxygen barrier, for example, and an exceptional barrier to things like grease, oils, and fats. So the second side to this is where you start to look at what do you do with this at its end of life. So you have a functional pack with this material, which is obviously very familiar to most of us in this room. What do you do with it at the end of life? And what we chose to do was try and develop something which actually entered the waste stream that is familiar with everybody almost along the supply chain all the way down to the consumer. And that waste stream is paper recycling. I think most consumers recognize what to do with paper. One of the issues with coated and film materials is, as we all know, the mills have a high rejection rate. It's very difficult to deal with. It causes contamination. And this is valuable material in the fiber that they need. Polyvinyl alcohol processed in this particular way enables this material to be completely taken as one product and repulped through a standard process. So a standard paper mill reprocessing system. We've gone through various independent tests, including some with the actual paper recyclers themselves, to prove that this is actually the case and there is no contamination of the material, and you maximize fiber retention through their process. So you have a system here where this drive away from plastics towards paper type products, but you still obviously require that functionality, barrier, for example, strength, etc., printability. You've got all that here, but you also then have an actual communication towards the end of life, which everybody actually understands. So, clearly we're moving towards recycling, recovering, and all sorts of other options. Some of these things don't have infrastructure in place. This is a route where the infrastructure is already in place, so the messaging can be quite clear on how this material can be done. You can have this in various forms, as I've said, in terms of the way that would process through a converter. This particular version is a prototype version with the film. But you could have an extrusion coated version, so obviously no window, where the extrusion coating goes directly onto the paper and the paper board. The advantage to that, to a certain extent, is that polyvinyl alcohol has a very high affinity with cellulosic materials on its own. The chemistry of it actually enables it to bond extremely well. So there are a great raft of options here in terms of what is available. That's it.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Over to the judges. Who wants to start? Laura?
Thank you. PVA is a plastic.
It is.
If I consider plastic tax 2022, I'll be taxed because it hasn't got recycled material content in there. Mm-hmm. What's the future? Are you looking at?
Yeah, it's a good question. We've had some very good conversations with CPI, and in terms of this material in its behaviour, the repulpability, the fact you can drive it towards solubility if you want to, depending on how that would work. But you can also, obviously, you've got a down gauging structure already, so you're using less material than normal material anyway. But CPI were very interested in the fact that this would actually go through without a problem into a paper recycling system. So they were actually looking at this from, that doesn't actually, the 5% system is contamination level in essence. So.
Yeah, so if I can jump in at that point, I'm really interested in this side because obviously we've been very involved in the discussions with CPI about what the appropriate cap would be. Yeah. We've moved from 20 to 15%, aiming to get to 10% on our way. This is a rather higher content than that, and yet you're saying it's still meeting the mill's requirements.
I think as a film, I think the key thing is it's slightly unusual if you look at it in comparison to standard products, hydrophobic, non-recoverable, often a contamination system in this particular construction. If you go to biodegradables, you've almost got the similar argument at the other end of the scale, as in you've got a route, say, to composting, but you've still in essence got a plastic material as a film or an extrusion coating. This is slightly unusual in the fact it behaves and actually dissolves in the repulping system. So you get zero contamination. It goes into solution and then goes through the mill's effluent system and is biodegraded. So you don't have that sort of question about what do I do with this level of contamination, because actually you don't have any. You're recovering 100% of the paper material.
Okay.
Just a quick question, just to understand sort of what stage you are on this journey. I mean, you're close to market implementation, or can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, sure. We're actually commercial. You're very, very welcome to come down to Southwest Birmingham and visit the site. By the way, we have 6,000 tons currently in operation on line 1. We will rapidly ramping up to about 30,000 tons as we go on. We've bought other machines to be installed over the period of the next 12 to 18 months. So there is the other fact, of course, is there's no shortage of our base raw material in comparison to perhaps some of the others. So we have a fairly straightforward route. We are commercial, not in this particular application. These are still in trials with many people at the moment and still in tests in terms of scale-up. But we are very, very close to commercialization of this. But we have commercialized films and bags and so forth, which is where we started.
John, have you mainly used it to pack dry things, or have you tried not necessarily liquid, but things which might be on the moister side, such as some pet foods and things like that? And the other question, because I always sneak in another one, is the devil in this one is going to be it being recognized by paper mills as something recyclable. Sure. How are you going to get over that hurdle? Because you're kind of zigging while others are zagging.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's a good question, Martin. I mean, take the first question first. It's like it is identifiable on things like IR sorting. It does have an infrared signature. We have looked at, we have got some sort of scale trials in with mills sort of to do that, to see how that would work, because they obviously have a screening rejection level already. So it's how that then comes into that process and says, how do we recognize this material? But I think you could almost have a pre-sort process as well, which they're very happy to look at if the goal is to get a hold of the virgin fibre to pull it out. So that's one option. Sorry, what was the first part of your question?
Listen to the other one. Packing other things which aren't necessarily dry.
Oh, dry, okay. Yeah. Clearly, on its own, this material has a high water vapor transmission rate. So for highly aqueous containing material, it's not suitable unless you coat it. But we have done some on things like dry pet foods and very oily materials. It's absolutely brilliant. Yeah.
Great stuff. Okay, we've got a minute for your questions from the audience.
I've answered all the questions.
Questions. You've obviously wowed them with everything. So you say you're close to commercialization. When do you expect
we're commercial in the sense you can buy the resin tomorrow, now.
Right.
No problem. Clearly, we would normally work with people's own converters to there is a little tweak in terms of using the material, minor tweak, nothing serious, just changes of heat content and that sort of stuff. And then you run it. You want to produce film, you want to coat paper, coat boards, produce whatever you want to do. Injection mold, that's fine. Yeah.
And any particular markets you think you're likely to start out in?
We are concentration is in packaging at the moment, and particularly flex because we have an end of life which is interesting.
Laura.
Can I ask one more? What's the puncture resistance of the material? Because having a feel of the pouch there, it feels a lot like cling film. How strong is the material?
Clearly, that is a gauge scenario. But as I said, if you go gauge for gauge against polyethylene, for example, you're around about 2.5 times tensile strength stronger. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Right, we're over halfway through. So next up is Cotta Mills. Cotta Mills. That's because I haven't written this down properly, that's why. Cotta Mills. Probably didn't recognise I was calling you there. And I'll give you that. And when
Okay,
you're
good
ready.
afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and dear jury. So my name is Kimmo Kohvakka from the company Kotka Mills, and today I'm going to present you a business case what we did together with Lavazza Professional Vendors Paper Cup Company and Kotka Mills. The end result of the project was that there's a commercial product already in the market, the Clicks Ecocup, where the target was replacing the traditional plastic cups with the most sustainable plastic-free carton-based paper cup, and that was done. But before moving on, let's start a little bit about Kotka Mills and our circular story, moving to the left-hand side of the slide. So basically, Kotka Mills entered the consumer board business 2016 with a small investment of 250 million euro, and our mission is delivering packaging solutions for folding boxboard industry, as well as alternative for plastic for the food service board industry. The machine has 400,000 of capacity, and the specialty of the machine and our business concept is that the coating replacing plastic is all done in line with the same production speed that the traditional board making. Then if we move on to the circular concept of Kotka Mills, basically we start from the certified forest management. There's more growth in the forest than it's cut on a yearly basis by 30 million cubic meters, so it's a sustainable forest management. And then the timber is getting to our sawmill. Basically from the sawmill, then we get from the byproducts material for the pulp production, from which we are doing the board at our mill. Then we apply inline coating based on water-based dispersion barriers, and this board is delivered directly to printing and to cup converting or box converting. And basically by this we got away one step away from the value chain, the PE extrusion namely. And thereafter the ready products or cups by the cup converters or the boxes can be collected, for example in the boxes what we have here, and they can be brought back for using the valuable fibers again. And all the products what we have, they are plastic free, they are recyclable, they are repulpable, they are renewable, biodegradable, and also industrially compostable. Last week we passed the 4th disintegration part of the industrial composting. Then moving from the raw material side more than to the brand owner world and the project what was done, Lavazza was looking for the most sustainable solution to replace the plastic cups. And of course here the criteria was matching the high quality and also the taste experience needed for the high good experience, and also the recyclability. So those were the main drivers. In the same time, they were looking for heavily increasing the circularity, decreasing also the carbon footprint, reducing the plastic waste, and avoiding cups that basically all of them are ending up in the landfills today. And by that, the Clicks Ecocup was developed, and there are different ways of recycling the Clicks Ecocup. So basically here, also what we do at our mill in Kotka, we are walking the talk, and we are taking all the cups we use at the mill for our personnel from the nearby coffee houses and nearby hotels. We're taking it back to our recovered fiber mill, doing it ourselves. But in general, it can be used for tissue paper. From 26 cups, you get 1 reel of tissue paper. It can be used for saturating basekraft and liner papers. It can be used for corrugated board, and in case it doesn't end up in the recycling and fibers being used, then the worst case is burning it for energy, which is here possible. And basically, as an outcome of the project, the environmental impact based on the LCA analysis that was conducted by Lavazza Professional was decreased by 2/3. And in addition to this, and that's compared to the cups ending up in the landfill. So traditional PE cups that are recycled against cups ending up in the landfill, 2/3 reduction in the LCA analysis. And then one of very important topics is also there's a payback value from the fibers. So these are the most expensive fibers in the market based on the virgin board. So from the converting waste and through the recycling system, there's a high value which also needs to be taken into account in the whole circular loop, where Kotka has provided the solution through the investments. Pendes cup making company has done the cups, and Lavats has brought the new product to the market. That's our circular story, so thank you very much.
Thank you. Who wants to start?
Do you have any data on sort of improvements in recycling rates where it's been used so far?
Improvements of the...
Yeah, just in terms of what's actually happening.
Yes, actually we do. I don't know those by heart, but I think the main topic here is that the products can be recycled with the normal office waste stream, and there's no additional energy and separation process of the peat. That's the main point of the project. And we do it at our mill. We have partners in UK, in US, several European countries, 3 factories in Finland who have done the testing, and we have certificates for the recyclability and repulpability. But the exact figures I don't know by heart.
So that's within closed loop systems. I'm just wondering, because from a UK MRF point of view, dealing with a 3D fibre product like this, it's unlikely they would go into paper recycling streams.
That was my question.
Well, basically, we work based on the certificates, and we've done the project with the chosen partners. And of course, this is a topic where we are just leading the way. For example, with this project, so we're just pioneering. Of course, this means that the industry needs to work together, finding the ways and finding the segregation ways.
So you've got the material. We now need to deal with the technology. Sorry, Laura.
When I see the words plastic-free, I do get a little bit of an alarm bell. That is because we have in this country a number of miracle products which have been launched saying they're plastic-free, but when you investigate them or you ask for evidence, you can't get the evidence to say they're plastic-free. And I think what worries us is the coating. Are you saying there's absolutely no trace, even if it's the most minutest trace of, say, acrylic in the aqueous coating?
Yeah, that's a question I was expecting to have as we have it in our daily business life. And basically, what is water-based dispersion coating? So it's the same pigments, binders, and chemicals that are used in the folding boxboard industry. And basically it's a polymer based, and the topic is difficult because there's no clear standardization of defining the plastic. So what we are following is the European Union regulations and single-use plastic regulations. The main story what we are presenting here is around recyclability and repulpability. And because of the water-based dispersion coating, it's forming a homogeneous film which breaks very, very easily. So based on all these definitions, based on all the work done and studies done, we can claim that.
But you're saying there is a trace of plastic in it. The problem,
I'm not saying that. No,
there's no plastic in it.
No,
absolutely not. Zero.
No,
we're not relying on you because EU law could change.
We are following the EU law at the moment, and all the legislation and based on studies. So basically, it's similar pigment code. If you imagine cereal box, we are using similar material to that.
So it's different from the other ones which are on the. That's brilliant. Okay.
Paul. All done? Anybody in the audience with a question? Like possible other applications? Gentleman here.
How do you expect the waste infrastructure to grow if it's not looking for material that has much tangible value, i.e. cardboard market is very down at the minute. People aren't investing in that as a material to want to collect. How do you expect it to grow if you're putting material into the market that they don't really want?
Yeah, that's of course a topic that will take a lot of time, and it's pretty much driven by the legislation. So if we want to reduce the plastic waste and if we want to avoid cups ending up in the landfills, then there's this legislation and will of the consumers, will of the industry to change something and working together closely on that. So for clearly it's taking time, but taxation and legislation is one of the drivers, and then already we have a lot of companies going in that direction. And after all, the value of the fibers, it's one carrot that helps definitely in this process. So they are valuable fibers after the collection process.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And our final contestant is Great Engineering. Thank you. No? That's me. Well, don't be quiet. Sing and shout. So this is our final presentation. Start thinking, because after we finish this one, I will ask you to give us a quick straw poll on which of these options you would place first, and the judges will take that into account in coming to our decision.
Good afternoon. I'm Peter Clark, GRA Engineering. We develop technology for the plastics industry.
You need the mic right up close.
Plastics packaging is our speciality. We've been working on a project for just over a year, and we've had a bit of a breakthrough. It's not pretty, but it's getting there. PET, lovely stuff, we all know it, and it has a flaw that in its clear state, 63, 70 degrees, it softens and it collapses, it loses its strength. It's got no practical use. The challenge was to come up with clear PET that has a relatively high strength. That pot there has got very slight cloudiness in it. However, the difference is that this pot, which is an APET pot, put boiling water in it, it does that. It reverts back to its original state, which in this case was that, which is an injection molded preform placed in a machine, heated, pressure formed into these containers. So that wants to go back to being what it was, a flat thing. This one, we've done a special trick on it on the way through the process. Boiling water, it holds its shape. We're not perfect yet, we've got a way to go, I know that, but this is new, very, very new. We've got probably another 6 months or so of development to improve it. What we've managed to do for the first time, as I'm aware, in the PET industry, is to actually achieve clear CPET, crystallised PET. Now, are there any polymer scientists in the audience? Because I have been caught out before. No? That means I can say anything I like. Basically, I won't get too technical, but basically this is all about what we call strain hardening or strain-induced crystallinity. When you stretch PET, it sets up a very millions of tiny little crystals. If the crystal is less than half a micron in size, you can't see it. It's off the visual spectrum. If you then heat set it, you apply some temperature to it for a very short time, and then you quench it. You actually have to rapidly cool it. You can lock in the crystals and make them slightly bigger, but bring them together and get more of them effectively. That then gives you stability when you apply high temperature. So that's the science behind it. The engineering is what we've been working on. We're coming up with a production method to do this. At the moment, it's still prototype. There's a long way to go, as I say. But we're quite excited. I'm quite excited because we've tripped over something that for 40 years people have been trying to do and have come up with a solution. That is what we've done. The areas that we can see it going into, obviously we can use rPET. 100% rPET's not a problem. 50% rPET, 30% doesn't matter. Currently we use bottle grade PET, which is a standard material globally used for making bottles. We do not put any additives in, so there's no problem on the recycling. This could go back in bottles. It doesn't have to be pots. It doesn't have to be anything else. We're not interfering with the chemistry of the material by adding nucleation packages, which would then later cause a problem if you try to turn it into a bottle. So we're keeping it as simple and plain as we possibly can to make it acceptable to the market. Now, how acceptable, I don't know. Let's wait and see. But if nothing else, it's been an interesting year. It's been a fun project. And I'm looking forward to developing it further and making it much nicer. Other than that, without getting extremely technical, which is no bloody point, to be quite honest with you, it's only boring, I think that ends my presentation.
Thank you very much. Okay.
Go on then. I'll start. I mean, the obvious thing is you say you've put this is now can be microwavable. You've tested it. Does it work perfectly? Does it affect the absolute?
Be very, very careful about microwaves.
Right.
No,
I will be.
microwavable with which material? What product? Sugars and fats boil at different temperatures. If you boil Tate & Lyle's golden syrup, it melts at 100. It'll boil at 160 degrees. Of course, it will melt them.
Right.
If it's water, it's 100 degrees. If it's soups, it's about 120 degrees, depending on the fat level.
Food with a gravy on it or something like that?
No, you can't do that. You've got to give me the specific fat, sugar content.
Put me in my place, didn't it?
I'm sorry,
good.
but
No, I like it.
It's
good
not
for,
as
it's
simple.
good for me now and again to do that.
Yes,
actually.
you can put that with water, put it in a microwave, it's fine. But unfortunately, the industry doesn't work like that.
No, exactly.
So it won't go to 160. If we can get to 160, if we can, and I mean, a long way to go with development, you're looking at jam. Because that's the temperature that jam is put in a jar. So that would be a massive step. I'm just happy at the moment we've got to boiling water. The next step to get to 120, 121, you can get into retool, and then you go up from there.
And that's your
so we work up.
And that's your project.
That's the next year's development.
Okay.
I think I read in the information that you submitted before that it's injection molded. Am I correct? Instead of thermoformed?
Yeah.
There you go.
So
yeah,
we injection mold a
bit.
preform. However, we are going to enter into a development with one of the processors using PET sheet. So we're cutting pieces of sheet and we're going to put it through the machine and see what it does. We don't really know what it's going to do because the way that thermoforming works or sheet extrusion works, you have a grain, all the molecular alignment is along the obviously with this you get a radial structure. This is much easier to convert into a container than thermoforming sheet. The other problem with sheet is you get variation in thickness and you also get lower IVs. We work on 0.84. Typically the thermoforming industry tends to work on sub 0.7, so it'd be about 0.68. So a lower IV material, we're not sure what it's going to do, but we're going to try it, see what happens.
Just a quick question about sort of IP and that. I mean, it sounds like you've got something that, if you can get this right in the next 6 to 12 months, you could have quite an interesting and...
Paul, so the great next year Rodney, is that the one?
Yeah.
But if we get it right, next year I'm going to be a multi-millionaire. How many times have I heard that in my life?
No, well, more, it was more to do with protection about,
Of course,
if someone could come along and take your idea and...
Because the what we call Ecoform, which is this process of taking a mouldy preform and turning it into a container, that patent is now granted, it's mature, that's fine. We're now about to file 2 new patents specifically covering exactly what's going on here in both injection molded preform to container and sheet, extruded sheet to container. They're in the process now.
Okay, questions from the audience. Lady here.
Forgive my not knowledge, but what is the advantage, the added value compared to the existing plastic pot or soup pot that we have in the supermarket today?
To move it from polypropylene into PET for recyclability.
Okay.
That's, to be honest, the only real reason. There are weight savings because PET has twice the strength of polypropylene. However, it has a higher specific gravity, so it's heavier. But the rule of thumb is that you can take a third of the weight out of a polypropylene container if you go over to PET. So a PET soup container with this crystallization trick, that could go into soups and sauces, yes. Recycled content? Well, we can. Yes, sorry. Thank you for reminding me that polypropylene can't currently go back into the food recycling stream. But however, I think what I'm hearing from some of the major players that they're talking 2 to 3 years, it should be acceptable. So it's a temporary thing.
Yeah, just a quick question. So the polyprop is very recyclable, and the thick woolness of it makes it even more recyclable. With you going that thin wool on this packaging, how thin are we talking?
You just want to sell granulators, don't you?
No, it's a really interesting development. I'm glad to see somebody using it. But I'm just wondering, at what level do you push the thin woolness to make it potentially unrecyclable?
You're talking about the value left in the container. The heavier it is, the higher the value, but the higher the cost. If you worked out that if you're buying your PET at currently about £900 a tonne, and if you want to buy it, get it reprocessed and everything else, you're going to sell it at 300, and you're going to buy it back at 900. So you're going to be losing £600 a tonne every time you convert it. If that 300 came up, then obviously there's more, and it is coming up because there is a shortage of rPET. That improves the situation. But nobody wants to increase the weight of packaging. I think friends over here will be quite saying just no. But two things about the industry we all know. So nobody wants to pay more, and nobody wants it heavier. They are absolutely cast in stone. You can't change that. I'm now being told to shut up. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.
Quick 2 seconds.
Right, we are just going to do quick fire voting from the audience, and then we have longer to deliberate, don't worry. So just to remind you of each of the things that we've seen. So we started with the Gapri pallet net. We then moved to the X-Cycle PE film, the 3-ply film. Skipped a page. We then moved to the Ecopack pouches, film lamination on paper, then the Clicks Cup from Kotka Mills, and then finally the great engineering CPET container. Okay, so you have one vote to give, and I am just literally going to do an unscientific view, but hopefully my fellow judges will take a quick view as well. So who would vote for Gapri and the pallet net? About 10% of the audience. Okay, yeah, thank you. And moving now to the PE, the triple layer PE pouch.
The coffee.
Yeah, coffee nuts pouch. Oh, a couple of hands. The Ecopack couple there. Goodness me, you're obviously all saving your votes. Cockcamil's coffee cup. Few more hands, and then finally our CPET. I take it a lot of you are abstaining here. should keep you in if you don't vote. Use the Australian system. Okay, thank you very much for your time, and come back to hear the results at 4:30.